What's up, guys? Black Phone 2 is out this weekend. Many of you that wanted to see it have hopefully saw it, and we're going to talk all the spoilers. So let's go.
Turn. What do you think happens when you die in a dream?
What's up, guys? Welcome to all the spoilers for the Black Phone 2, or just Black Phone 2. This definitely took a different approach, and I'm wondering if maybe they did that because they were thinking franchise, and because of the events that happened at the end of the first movie. What's the next step? How do we bring the grabber back? And I think there was a lot of speculation on were they going to do a prequel? And I'm glad they didn't, because I think prequels are played out. We see them all the time. Yeah, there's some really good prequels out there, but if you can go forward, why not go forward? And I'm glad they did that. Oh, and real quick, if you have not bought Delilah versus the Ghastly Grimm, it is still on Amazon. It's a great little children's book. I think your middle schoolers and even adults will love this book. If you like stuff like Harry Potter, then you will definitely like this book. And it's cool that it has a disabled protagonist, okay? So Delilah versus the Ghastly Grimm with that awesome freaking cover. Make sure you get it on Amazon right now, okay? I'll have a link down in the info box. First off, I'll just say I absolutely loved the aesthetic of this movie. I love the whole 8mm look. You know, that was a creative choice to kind of show that we were in Gwen's dream state, and she is in the dream state quite a few times in this movie, and it just added like a grindhouse feel to the movie, which I thought was really, really cool. Now, there's a lot that I didn't tell you in the spoiler-free review, and that's the nice thing about doing all the spoilers, is that I can kind of dig deeper into the characters. And as far as like pros and cons, I don't really do that with all the spoilers. I kind of just walk my way through the movie, not necessarily in chronological order, but it's more of stream of consciousness and maybe what I'm thinking about. And if it's something that I didn't like, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. And I guess to start with that, the dad in this movie just felt very superficial compared to what he was in the last movie. There was just a lot more character meat to chew on. You know, those moments where he is like whipping Gwen with a belt. Stuff that you don't normally see in movies that much, especially like studio movies and a Blumhouse movie. You know, it really tugged at your heartstrings, but then in the end, you see that he's not a villain. He's just a very screwed up dad. And I think the world is full of screwed up dads. So in this movie, he doesn't really have too much to do because they got to go to that Alpine Lake place. And so when he's in the movie, you pretty much feel like, yeah, he's a good dad now. He's overcome all the obstacles that he needed to, I guess, in the last movie, so they don't really need to dive into his character or the darkness that still might be within him. You know, he just kind of felt passed over. That's not a big gripe because he's not the main point of the movie. The main point of the movie, of course, is Finn and Gwen definitely takes more of a front and center approach to in her role, which I'm fine with. I love Gwen as a character. I think she was a scene stealer in the first movie. So why not kind of focus on her supernatural abilities? She's kind of the conduit for the grabber to maybe come into the real world. I love winter horror movies, and I think this will be a nice addition to, you know, movies that we might watch in December just because it has a very winter vibe to it. I love the aesthetic of the grabber, how his mask looks like it's frozen. And there's that cool scene where like the bottom of his mask rips off and it's like frostbite. You know, even that line, nothing burns like the cold. And it's true. I don't know about you guys. I'm sure a lot of you guys probably live in cold environments. You know, I've been to a couple of different, like I was in Kyrgyzstan one time, and I will never forget that kind of cold. It was insanity. This was in January, and I remember walking out of my tent, and this might sound gross, but I could literally feel the insides, the liquids inside my body freezing up, including my nose. It was that freaking cold. And it was painful cold. So you throw that into an actual horror movie, it just adds an extra layer of terror. Because if the bad guy doesn't get you, maybe the cold will. Now, this movie, it sort of explains, I guess, the backstory of the grabber. It starts off in 1957, and I'm wondering, like, who is this young girl at the phone booth, and why are we starting off in 1957? But then we find out that that is actually the mother of Gwen and Finn. And it was really cool, that moment where we're in Gwen's dreamscape and she ends up in the grabber's basement and she gets on the phone and she's talking to her mother from 1957. Really cool stuff. I like that this movie got really ambitious with the supernatural elements because it kept you on your toes. When you have supernatural elements in a movie, you never know where it's going to go, but it can go anywhere. That's the cool thing about it. That's why we love the Nightmare on Elm Street movies so much, which is a good transition into Nightmare on Elm Street. This feels like a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, but it does feel like, if you compare it to the better Nightmare movies, it does feel like something's missing. Something has been held back. And I think part of that is how long we have to wait until we actually see the grabber. You just don't see the grabber that much in this movie. And he's such a cool character that you're kind of begging for more of him when you're watching. But going back to the backstory, the grabber, he killed 3 children and their bodies went missing and they ended up in the bottom of this lake. And so it's sort of like a murder mystery type deal. You have Gwen trying to help find out where these children are. So then when we get to the end of the movie, the children are found and she ends up using the children to actually help take down the grabber. So it definitely has maybe like The Shining mixed with Dream Warriors, something like that. I absolutely loved that moment where you had Gwen, you know, she's in her dream, and then the grabber, his first time coming in, kind of reminded me of the first time Freddy comes in Dream Warriors and sees Nancy for the first time. It's just a big moment. That scene where her body is like on spin cycle, pretty wild stuff. And if anything, it just made you miss, like, you know, having Freddy Krueger back. I guess the grabber's gonna, like, I guess be a stand-in for Freddy Krueger until eventually. I do think we'll eventually get Freddy Krueger back. I just do. I think they're gonna go with a no-name actor, but yeah. But this movie's really stayed with me, and I actually like it quite a bit. You know, it's definitely a slow burn, but I think even when it's slow, it's very engaging because of the look, the visuals of the movie, the score. Scott Derrickson I think he's a master at slow burns and keeping you invested, even though maybe not that much is happening. He's just such a great director. I really want to go back and watch the first Sinister because he directed that movie, and I think there's not that many genuinely scary movies these days, you know, and I think Sinister is one of those that is very chilling. But that scene where Gwen is kind of on spin cycle, didn't that remind you guys of the Tina scene in the first Nightmare on Elm Street when her body's like up on the ceiling and whatnot? Maybe that was kind of a callback to that scene. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all the main spoilers of this movie that I can kind of delve into that I haven't delved into in the first review. I'm curious what the next movie will be, and I guess it all depends on if this movie is a hit. As a matter of fact, let me check Variety right now and see if we got a hit. We'll learn this right now in real time. So according to Variety, and it's Saturday actually, so we still got another day, but it says Blumhouse's horror sequel Black Phone 2 dialed into 10.7 million across Friday in preview screenings, heading for a #1 opening. It has a projected opening of 24.4 million, so that's good. And that's not including international numbers, so more than likely we're going to get a sequel. I don't know what the budget of this movie was, but I can't imagine it being that much. That's why horror never dies. It constantly survives because if your major studio is running out of money, let's put out a horror movie because more times than not we can make money off of horror movies. Yeah, I really enjoyed Black Phone 2, and I like this franchise so far. They're both really good. I'm looking forward to watching Black Phone 2 again. Maybe I can talk my wife into going to see it. She hasn't seen it yet, but let me know what you guys think of the movie down in the comments. Also, be sure to follow Drumdums Xtra. Subscribe there if you haven't. That's my second channel where I have all my live stream clips and, you know, just stuff that's not like new release related. Be sure you're subscribed there if you haven't yet. Also, follow me on Patreon, become a channel member, buy me a coffee. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a good day, and Drumdum out.